After training my client for about 12 weeks, I would definitely go about many things differently in his process, and one of those things would definitely be the schedule of his training routine. So, with my client, we typically would train at different times throughout the week, 3 times a week, and sometimes it was early in the morning, sometimes it was in the evening, and other times it was in the afternoon. And what I began to saw was my client had different energy levels at different parts of the day. And this sometimes got in the way of training, but for the most part, it didn't get in the way of too many things because he was able to still be focused and continue to finish the workout within the 1 hour mark. But I then began to see that he performed much better after school because one, he just didn't have as much work to do, so I don't think that was on his mind as much. And sometimes he even came into workout sessions talking about the overwhelming amount of work that he needs to catch up on. And there was times where we would sit down and talk about this for 5 minutes or so, and that would cut into our routine. So we'd go from a break to talking about work to then just losing precious time to train and get better. Another thing too was introducing the nutrition aspect of things, right? So we began tracking his nutrition just about 4 to 6 weeks in. We didn't in the beginning because I didn't want to overwhelm my client at first, and he was really struggling with his eating habits prior. I knew of that, but I wanted to make sure that we got the ball rolling first with his training. So once we began the nutrition, he then began to see that that was a big part of why he wasn't losing weight. He was eating lunch and dinner, skipping breakfast, but having 4 to 5 snacks a day. And these snacks were, again, just as he was in class or as he was on leisure time or in study hall virtually, he would just begin to snack because either he was hungry or he just didn't have anything else to do. And once we began tracking, I began to see that he was overeating about 3 to 400 calories. And with this overeating, he was overeating just about 3 to 400 calories more than he actually needed to. And so what we began to do was monitor that and cut back on the snacking and incorporate a breakfast and a lunch and a dinner. Those were set, and then the snacking would only be necessary if needed, but only structured around his training times. So that way it could be used as a quick burst of energy right before he began training, or maybe right after his training session when he just needs to restock on some lost calories. And with that being said, that began to give us more results because my client had already lost about 5 pounds by week 7, and then going into week 12, he was at a solid 10. So just monitoring his nutrition made a tremendous difference. It definitely motivated him more because he got to see the scale move faster. So I think that if we started with nutrition in the beginning, we definitely would have been progressing much sooner because he was so motivated after seeing so much weight being dropped from the scale upon starting nutrition with me. And the other thing that I would definitely incorporate more was his programming. So my client really did not enjoy doing just the basic things week to week. He saw that he was getting stronger. He saw that he was getting better, but he wanted things to be mixed up. He wanted more creative workouts because then he felt like it was boring. And being that you have a home gym, you don't have as many accessories and things to use. So, doing a bodyweight squat can only get can only be so fun for so long, especially for a 17-year-old. So I began to create more creative programs, but this is more so around week 8 or 9. And had I did that from the beginning, again, week to week, he probably would have looked forward to it much more. But that, again, is something I definitely should have communicated with my client on in regards to did he enjoy the program, not just is the program giving him results. Because sometimes some things do give us results, but we don't necessarily enjoy doing them. So with my client, I'd say creating more creative programs that incorporated more martial arts and more wrestling and other elements other than just strength and conditioning using basic exercise materials definitely would have made a major improvement in his experience and potentially even gaining results. So overall, I'd say those were the main things and the general things that I definitely would have did differently if I had to do it all over again. And it was a great learning experience on my end. I definitely got to see where I need to work on in terms of my coaching, also where I need to work on in terms of my programming, how I deliver the programs, and ultimately how I communicate with my client. And I say that because communication is a major part when you're taking someone through a process. And if they don't understand why they're doing something, they probably won't do it to the best of their ability. And my ability to communicate throughout all 12 weeks to tell my client, here's what we're going to do, here's why we're going to do it, and this is why it's going to work, was ultimately very helpful for my client because he got a clear picture of the direction we were going in. And again, when training somebody, they have to really understand the direction that they're moving in, because if not, then it's going to feel like pulling teeth, and people are going to become more inconsistent, and with more consistency, you don't get results. So yeah, overall, it was a great learning experience though.